Well, hello and welcome to match 15 of the inaugural Betway SA20 here on Forever Sports. We are currently catching the Durban's Supergiants up against the Pretoria Capitals, of course, in Durban. The early news from the middle of the pitch saw the Supergiants winning the toss. They decided that they would have a bat first. We'll go through the teams in a second, but before we do that, let's introduce you to our team. I'm joined by Reza. Reza, welcome. Good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Matt. So looking forward to it. Can't wait. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the tournament. Very excited to see. I think this is critical part where we start to see the gap lengthen between teams. And I think in particular for Durban today, this is going to be a huge result. If they lose this one has to wonder if they have the ability to get back into it for the rest of the tournament. And I think for Pretoria, they pull it out, currently top of the log, come away with the win here, sitting pretty at the top of the log with just over half the tournament to go.
Yeah, 17, 18 points it would put them, depending on the bonus point. Whereas for Pretoria, as for Durban, they're currently sitting on 8 points from their 4 matches played so far, which means that a win today would move them up onto 12. Assuming they do get maybe a bonus point, that'll put them onto 13, which will put them right, in fact, equal with the Pretoria Capitals after 5 matches played. Both of them currently having played 4 matches. 5 matches played for every side so far in the tournament. Just as we're starting to approach that break for the upcoming England ODI series against the Proteas, where of course we will see a couple of English and a couple of, obviously a majority of South African players needing to take part in their international duty. Now, as things stand, we see Kyle Mayers coming to the crease, the 30-year-old left-hander from the West Indies, 107 matches, 1,748 runs to his name. He's been a phenomenal batter, I think, so far for Durban Supergiants, and he's joined by Bjorn Mulder. 24-year-old. He's an average of 29. Do you think... Okay, let's get into it right from the off, I suppose. You've got a side that has some seriously big power hitters here in Durban Supergiants. Do you think there's wisdom in opening with, a Mulder and a Mayers who maybe aren't as explosive as some of the other players we've seen a little bit down the order?
Yeah, I think so. I think especially when you're facing a team like Pretoria Capitals, who have been on top of the log, you'd like some stability up top. And I think that's kind of been taken for granted by a lot of the teams, and we've seen them suffer for it. As we see the countdown here to the first ball.
Wayne Parnell, by the way, will be the man who's decided to open himself. With the power players, he sorts out the final bits and pieces of his field. I agree with you. I think also, again, you've got a Wayne Parnell who's been very in form with the ball. And, that the Pretoria Capitals have looked an outstanding side.
Absolutely.
I think rather, you don't need to panic yet. Let's rather get ourselves in. I think Kyle Mayers and Bjorn Mulder are probably the two to do it. Let's see. Well, the first ball gets spooned up.
And it's a first ball wicket for Wayne Parnell, who's delivered a short of a length. And Kyle Mayers has tried to play it onto the leg side and simply chipped it down to third man.
Yeah,
and
just sort of spooned that up off a leading thick edge there and just...
And something that I like to say, and I hope I don't have to say it too much today, and we talked about it at the beginning of the tournament, is what happens when batsmen play a very soft shot when maybe they shouldn't be. And it's resulted in a lot of wickets. And he just kind of sat back there, seemed to possibly be trying to take the shine off a new ball and not look to be too aggressive, but it was definitely in the arc.
Yeah, you have to say so. I think, it looked to me like it kind of caught him by surprise. It looked as though he was kind of just expecting a bit of a line and length loosener from Parnell. Wasn't expecting that little bit of a shorter length, which I think kind of just, it caught him a bit unawares, I think.
Yeah, and as we see here, we see Mayers is, he's quite deep in his crease as well, so it looked like he was rushed in the end, perhaps a little late on the shot, but he really shouldn't have been that deep in the crease first ball. It's unfortunate though.
And he kind of wasn't going forwards or backwards, was he? He was sort of just standing there, plugged in deep in the crease.
Very much a nothing shot.
No, nonetheless, Quinton de Kock now comes to the crease. We know what he can do. Look at those stats: 295 matches, an average of nearly 33, 500s, 55 T20 50s to his name. At the age of 30, he has done it all. But let's see. You never know.
Oof. Wow. A little bit of movement. That's quite a lot for what Chris Morris, I believe, said in pregame, that this is very much a batting deck. He said there was a bit of grass, but that looked like it was...
The thing swung like a Friday night at Steve Pettit's house. So much so, in fact, that it was called a wide.
It was called a
And,
wide.
I mean, it didn't look, I suppose when it was coming down before it pitched, it did look like it was going to be a pretty straightforward delivery, but that movement. Another one.
Oh!
Over the
Okay.
top. Okay.
Parnell's getting a little bit of a wave movement here to the two left-handers he's bowled to, and Quinny de Kock squirts one out to third man again. It could have very easily gone wrong. One bounce to the man.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, it was pretty much Adil Rashid again, or Rashid Khan standing there looking, pretty comfortable for the first catch.
Which is not something you say about him very often.
No, sure. But look, I think it's going to be an interesting one. Only 2 deliveries in, obviously, but it looks like we might be on for something here.
I'd like to just mention something, that the turnaround in Wayne Parnell's career is phenomenal over the last couple of years. He's really, really stuck to his game.
Again, that little bit of movement off just before the pitch. And just catching Vian Mulder there for his first delivery of the match so far. Just looked like a leg by. They'll just take the single. Was it a leg by?
No runs off the bat just yet.
Was a leg by, yeah. Well, they have had the single.
Yeah.
One single off the bat so far. But nothing yet from Vian Mulder so far. I mean, we're looking now, we're seeing Jacques Callis sitting there. He must be pretty happy with what he's seen from his side so far in the tournament. Pretoria Capitals. Oof.
And Parnell is moving it everywhere. Moving and shaking.
Bit of a chirp to Quinny there.
Yeah, and one.
Go back to him. Yeah, go back to him. Let's go back to him.
So Wayne Parnell, he came in as a young gun. Everyone loves a left-arm seamer who's able to move it around a little bit. And I think the expectations were incredibly high for him at a young age. And he got into the international setup quite quickly. And then I think he was in the wilderness for about, I would say, 3 to 6 years.
Yeah,
almost.
I was going to say easily over 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, and he's beaten Quinny's bat again.
Just on the outside, not far off that actually.
It's phenomenal bowling.
He has, it's funny. When he first came into the Proteas setup, I bought into that very much that young left-handed seamer, that excitement around him, and I must say I went off him with time where I felt he was a bit undisciplined. His bowling was a bit undisciplined.
Yep.
He felt a bit raw, and it didn't feel to me like over those first couple of years that he was maturing into like a test cricketer.
Yeah.
And then I think he got sent off, as you say, into the wilderness of domestic cricket, and he's brought himself together and he's matured in his game. I mean, look, he's not a young man anymore, but he's
Certainly not.
I do like to see him now in the Proteas setup. He does seem to be a lot more in control of his bowling.
Yeah.
And what he wants to do. He does seem more focused. He felt like a bit of a hooligan when he first sort of arrived.
Exactly, that's young, brash, and you can see it. I think it's something that I wanted to delve into now is the development in himself as a person seems to have had a huge effect on his game as well.
Yeah.
Some might have known him back in the day as a bit of a party boy and all of those kind of things. And if anyone knows Wayne Parnell now, he's a devout Muslim and very, very relaxed in how he approaches his life, a family man. And I wonder if those kind of things have really settled him down, made him just reevaluate his priorities, and obviously cricket being one of them.
I suspect so. As we see Ethan Bosch now coming into the attack. By the way, into that first over, 3 for 1. Not a bad opener for Wayne Parnell. Ethan Bosch now comes in. Let's see what he can offer. He has been pretty good this tournament so far. A little bit of movement there, is.
Yeah, I would call that a bit more seam than genuine swing there. But not a bad start. We'll have to evaluate the next ball, see if he gets a little more off the deck.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the wickets he's taken so far this tournament. He's been quite a revelation as Ethan Bosch, actually, I must say. I mean, when he came in, when the tournament started, I thought, well, they've got quite a solid lineup.
Yeah.
Did he stand out? And he didn't really stand out for me, but he has actually been pretty good, I must say. I'll get his stats up here, but I mean, he has looked pretty good.
Very good, and I wonder if he can push on from here. We see a lot of the shots, the wickets that he gets, are batsmen chasing him. And sometimes you have to know your game a little while. He's not got a great deal of pace, he's not got a great deal of movement, but as we know from all the greats in the past, line and length comes first and foremost. That's what they teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see. Bjorn Mulder on striker, and he pulled that one. I didn't really get all of it.
Yeah, just a bit off the splice there.
So he'll just, kind of pull that one away to deep square leg for 1.
So we sit here at 4 for 1 from 1.3 overs. Do we think that DSG are going to settle into this? Or are they worrying yet? Do you think they should be worrying?
Absolutely not. I mean, you've got Quinton de Kock at the crease. We know that, Quinton could be going along at 50, of a strike rate of 50, of 60, of 70, and give the guy 2 overs and his strike rate's up to 140.
Yeah.
We know that. We know he can do that at any given point. I think if I'm Durban right now, I'm going, okay, it's our own pitch. We obviously set it up the way we wanted to. Let's see out the first couple of overs. You don't. The last thing you want to do is be going into the third over 3 wickets down. So the way I see it is, even if you're going into the third over with 5 runs on the board, for God's sake, rather do it that way, because you can make those up pretty quickly. You've got plenty of power to come in the batting.
You talk about those first 2 or 3 wickets going down very quickly, very Joburg Super Kings of them.
Yes.
And I think they would have learned some lessons from that, as much as it hurts me to say. But
is what it is, yeah.
Yeah, well, we haven't even spoken about this match yet, but who are you backing in this game?
Do you know, I mean, the Pretoria Capitals have been one of the more impressive sides we know this so far this tournament, but I got a feeling that Durban are going to take this one. They're playing down Kingsmead. They're, yes, fine, they might have won 2 of their matches and lost 2 of their matches, but they do have a feeling for me of a side who can really kind of, explode when they need to. They have plenty of ability there, and I think this is a bit of a backs to the wall moment. They currently find themselves 8 points, equal with Joburg Super Kings at the bottom of the log, only above JSK on run rate.
Yeah.
They need to win this one if they really want to push themselves back up there among the top. And I think they can. I do think they can. I think a lot will depend now. In fact, I want to say with this current innings, a fair amount's going to depend on, say, Quinton de Kock. If Quinny gets in, say Quinny goes on, if Quinny gets above 15 runs here, Quinny can go on to get 50 runs here pretty easily. And that can kind of set the tone up front. And hopefully for them, they'll be able to pull that through. That's what I'm backing. What about you?
Yeah, so as we look at the score here again, 5 for 1 after 2, Bosch bowled a very good over there, returning to Parnell. I wonder if Quinny is going to get bogged down here. I wonder if he's going on the past couple of innings, worried about giving away his wickets and what's to come after him. With that in mind, I think I have to go with Pretoria today.
Okay.
As much as I'd like Durban to win, I think Pretoria's probably got a little bit too much in the tank. In terms of both bowling and batting.
That's going to be interesting to see.
Oh,
Oof, my goodness me. Well, as we say that, Quinton's settling down. Did he hell there? Kind of a weird, walked across his stumps, scooped it over like a kind of a, fine leg up in the circle. Went for 4, but not convincing, was it?
half-baked little scoop there, for sure. Oh, and
I mean, had fine leg been 2 steps back, that would have been it.
2 steps back, maybe a couple more jumping jacks, he would have been up there.
Yeah, Quinny looking worried. Probably been, maybe he's been doing a bit much fishing, not enough. Not enough in the nets. Let's see.
Catching those runs. Oh, and
Another
he
one.
tries the exact same shot.
Yeah, a bit of a creative take 2 steps sideways. Pull a ball that was almost a wide on the offside.
I actually don't know how he's managed to clip that, but...
No. But I mean, now I wonder, again, you got a Wayne Parnell who, has been very good this tournament. He's the captain of his side. Do you think maybe this is knowing Quinny a bit of a, let's try and put him off his game?
I don't know about off his game yet. I think Parnell's going to stick to what he knows, and that's the line and length, and hope, as we see him steaming here to Mulder. Oh man, it's middle and leg with a little bit of extra bounce, and it's just clipped Mulder on the hands there for no run. I think he's going to stick to his game, and what we often see from Quinny is that it's not so much the bowler that's doing something right, it's him doing something wrong. And you need to give yourself the best opportunity for him to do that.
Yeah.
And to do that is line and length, and that's where that uncertainty creeps into a batsman's mind is when he's thinking about, do I go back, do I go forward? What should I be playing here? Am I playing a drive on the up? Am I going back and trying to work it around the corner? What's the best play to do that? And if he's got too much to think about, that's probably when you're going to get his wickets.
Well, let's see. I mean, now we see Mulder there. Oh, he hits that with that. It's just over pitched. Not really much, but a tad of length on offer, and Mulder dispatches that. I think he needed that. He must be honest, he was looking a little bit shifty, a little bit uncomfortable at the crease so far. I mean, a few have hit his body.
The ones at the back of the leg, definitely uncomfortable. That one, so full. And as we were talking about with the previous ball, is when you give a batsman no option but to play a certain type of shot, that's when guys who have practiced this their whole lives, his first instinct there was get on the front foot, bash that through, because there's nothing else to do with it.
Yeah, you just have to beat covering you there. Another one came in a little bit. There is an appeal.
Tell you what.
Maybe sliding down leg for me.
Yeah,
but
with the movement he's getting might have worked against him there.
Yeah. Height also could have potentially been a bit of a...
And it's not a bad shot. I'm not going to lie.
Well, they have reviewed it, so let's see.
I think it's should be pitching in line. I think it's clipped a little bit there.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it didn't look like there was any bats on offer there. Let's have a look. I mean, given not out, so that's also, relevant. Remains to be seen here. This could be quite interesting. But my initial feeling was maybe going down a leg and maybe even height. I mean, it did look like it hit him reasonably high up.
Outside the line, I think. And maybe a bit of bat.
Oh, actually, hang on. There's a few things to look at there.
That height, I think all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit fuller than I initially thought. Okay, so there's no bat on Ultra Edge.
It's in line with the knee roll.
Yeah, this looks like it could be in trouble.
Oh,
that's it. Yeah.
Wow.
Good review.
I think that had us both sold there, Matt.
It did. It honestly did. I mean, I was expecting, assuming height wasn't the problem, I was expecting an umpire's call maybe for going down a leg. I was not expecting that. I mean, look, it was close. It was probably, maybe a centimetre, but I was expecting it to be a bit...
Oh, no, we'll definitely enjoy that. I mean, what a comeback ball.
Absolutely.
Just smashed through the covers.
And what did we just say? Well, I just said, what? The last thing you want to be is 14, or, whatever, for 3 down after the first couple of overs, and now we see that's the end of the third over.
Especially when you're not taking that many risks.
No, exactly.
That feels bad, I mean, at least if you had gone out there with a plan and saying, well, let's have a bash.
Yeah, no, sure.
You could feel, you don't feel too bad. Now 14-3 after 3.
14 for 3? Why do I feel like it's 14 for 2? And I feel like 14 for 2. Yeah, they got that wrong.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought...
I was also looking at that. I was going, hang on, 3. Hang on. So who was it? Yeah.
Super Sport, get it together.
What a company. Jeez, terrible. So Kyle Mayer's gone for 0. That means Bjorn Mulder, LBW, Wayne Parnell for 5 off 7. He didn't look comfortable, as we said. Sure, I mean, there was that one over pitch delivery that he bashed for 4, but he didn't really look like he was settling.
No, not at all.
But now the tournament's leading run scorer comes to the crease, Heinrich Klaassen. I think he's scored 162 runs, is it so far in the tournament?
Yeah, 162 runs, a high score 56, 4 innings, an average of 81.
Average of 81. So that, I mean, goes to show he's obviously, he's pulled the innings to the end.
Yeah,
which is what you'd like to see. But I mean, this is a very different situation now, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think this game rests on these two shoulders, Quinny de Kock and Heinrich Klaassen. Premier batsmen, they'll be expected to make some runs here.
A bit of movement in there. And just safely.
I must say though, Wayne he's bowling an over from heaven, yeah.
No, he is. He's always one of these players, and I know we keep going back to Wayne Parnell, but he's one of these players that he makes me feel like he succeeds when the back's against the wall, kind of thing.
Yeah.
This tournament is a great one for him because, there's a lot of kind of bowling all-rounders that, could probably come into the Proteas lineup.
Yeah.
And I imagine he'll probably see this almost as a back-to-the-world tournament in that this is the tournament where you can put yourself head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, maybe something to prove for himself as well. As to call him the older statesman now of bowling all-rounders.
Yeah. And the captain of his team.
Yeah, and previously considered an out-and-out bowler. Let's not forget that. He's got.
I still consider him an out-and-out bowler. We've had this discussion before.
Sure. I think he would.
He would disagree. Yeah, no, sure. I mean, look, he's useful with the bat, But I mean, to me, if we're going to call Marco Jansen an out-and-out bowler, we're going to call Wayne Parnell an out-and-out
I
bowler.
don't think that's fair at all. I really don't.
Well, here's a man who is an out-and-out bowler, definitely. Heinrich Nortje. And that's not even anything against his batting. That's just because he's such a bowler. Coming to the crease now for his first spell. First ball goes for a dot. Okay, so you telling me that Marco Jansen is not a bowling all-rounder?
I think you have to do some things to prove yourself to be a all-rounder.
Okay.
And I think that Marco's just too new on the scene. We'll see if it comes. I mean,
No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh dear. Has that gone in the air or has that gone all the way? That has gone all the way. That has gone all the way. You just whipped that around the corner.
I'd love to see the speed on that ball. If Supersport would be kind enough to show us.
So I don't want to tell you this, but Marco Jansen is currently the 4th highest run scorer in this tournament.
In this tournament?
Yes.
Does that make him an all-rounder in one tournament?
Well, I mean, he certainly performed. How many 50s did we get in Australia? And were any of them Marco Janssens?
But okay. Points aside.
Well, oh, now it's a side. I see this. I like this. It's a side. I will sip my beer and smile smugly.
You could be selected as an all-rounder, which I don't think that Marco Jansen is at this point.
Goodness me.
I think he's been selected as a bowler, and he's surprised the selectors with his ability with the bat. Okay? Is that fair enough to say?
Okay. I'll say he's... Yeah, fine.
When he first rolled into the team, they were not touting him as the batting or bowling all-rounder.
Look, he's always kind of been... I mean, obviously he's very young, but he's never been dreadful with the bats. I'm not saying even in his early days, in his early domestic days, he was never terrible. I mean, if I'm having a look at him now, let's have a look at his averages.
His early days was winter last year.
So he's got a test average of just under, call it 20. Test average.
Okay.
That's from 10 tests.
All right.
So that's not bad.
Fair enough.
T20 average, okay, fine, of 12. Fine. It hasn't really been expected, but I mean, to be fair to the boy, he's played one match.
Oh, so now it's the lack of game time.
One match. You can't give a guy. I mean, I think for the first 3 test matches, Hashim Amla averaged 4. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, the fact that we're getting so deep into this just shows how terribly Durban's doing with 20 for 2 after 3.4.
Yeah, well, let's see. I mean, they're 20 flat bats, that one just down to middle.
I think for me the qualification comes in over time.
Okay.
For instance, Jacques Cullis, when he came in, was selected as a batsman.
Yes.
Okay, and
Great
it took him some
Excellent.
time to get into his stride with the bowling.
Okay.
Okay, so just because you turn in a couple of performances early on doesn't make you that for the rest of your career.
Okay, but I mean, I feel like a batting average of 20 would dairy me.
Oh.
Well, if you're Durban, you're going shit right now. 20 for 3, Quinton de Kock, clean bowled by the man with the mustache, Heinrich Nortje. That was just... Did he beat him for pace? What did he do?
I think that's definitely for pace. It looked like he had made up his mind what kind of shot he was going to play.
Maybe a drop of movement.
He's well late on it, though.
But he just, absolutely. Just, as you say, late on it. Just going past the pads. Would have probably gone maybe even between bat and pad.
Off stump is still rolling.
Yes, yeah. If you live in Pietermaritzburg, please go look in your garden. Well, that's trouble. 20 for 3 after 4 overs. Now to break it down, we have the Steves, who will be coming up. The Steves will be coming up. Reeza and I will join you very shortly after they have had their analysis and their chat. We shall see you soon. Well, yeah, you kind of
Hello and welcome back to Forever Sports, and the Steves are on with you and Mr. Kirker. We are 4.2 overs into this clash between the Durban Super Giants and the Pretoria Capitals, and Pretoria Capitals doing the business. How impressed have you been so far with the start from the Pretoria side?
Well, the start from the Pretoria side has been outstanding. I mean, Wayne Parnell has bowled some outstanding overs, and I see he's kept himself on now. And Heinrich Nortje has just come in and bowled a pretty hostile over. And, Quinny had been there for a little while, and he completely beaten, and that off stump went absolutely flying. So, was this a bad toss to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I suppose, home ground advantage, you kind of back yourself to know the conditions pretty well. But yeah, I mean, you do sit there at 81 for three, thinking, well, yeah, I mean,
81 for three, that settled
so
for.
21 for two, 21 for, yeah, I mean, 81 for three, that bite my hand. I mean, at this stage, but I suppose the nice thing is for Durban Super Giants is, their top order has failed. They have now failed. That's no longer even a discussion. So now we get to see Jason Holder and Heinrich Larsson, leading run scorers. So very much could still do a pretty big job here. And Jason Holder very very worthy with the bat. But yeah, I think the one thing I suppose is throughout this tournament is to be able to get into these situations and to be able to get yourself out of them. And whether they've got players and they've got the ability, they've got mentality to be able to take the pressure and still come out good.
Indeed. Look, the thing is, you want your top order batters to do it. I mean, we discussed this last time we were on air together. You need your top order batters to build the score, and the late order batters to put the finishing touches on it. Having said that, there are some really wily, experienced people in this Durban Super Giants lineup. You speak about Holder, but you've also, of course, in there you've got um, the likes of Keshav Maharaj as well. I mean, he's seen a little bit of the game.
Just with this year. It's just
Just check.
Right, and we're semi-back. We're semi-back. We'll get there. I think we just need to sort out a few technical difficulties, but we'll be back very soon. But change of over at the moment. At the moment it is, well, we can hear Steve, we just can't see Steve, so we'll get him back in a moment. But yeah, apologies for that. But Steve, what was how's this for Heinrich Klaassen really coming on the counter attack there?
Well, yeah, and Jason Holder's also come to the crease, and after seeing off a lot of balls, he seems to have found the pitch, because I think that's probably what's important, is that there is something about the way the pitch is playing at the moment, and maybe that's the experience of Jason Holder, who's come along and actually taken a bit of a look. But Klaassen, well, he's certainly the batter in form in this tournament, and if he carries on like this, then the Durban Super Giants can post a competitive total. But I think they more than doubled their score in an over, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, you go back. I mean, and it's funny how that one over can really sort of change things. That last over, 20 from it. Um, so a much needed over to try and get Supergiant sort of back on the thing. So on back on track. So yeah, I mean, Arsenal at 45 for 3. You got Heinrich Larsson, who seems to be seeing beach balls out there. Very much seems to be the man in form. As does go down the ground. He'll just sort of punch that really, and should be able to come back for the second potentially. Adil Rashid, a tricky customer to go after. But yeah, how important is this sort of the next 5 overs really to kind of supposed to consolidate, but also to make sure that you kind of keep the runs ticking so that you sort of set yourself a platform. If you're 3 down with 12 or 8 overs to go, 6 overs to go, you can really launch. But the important thing is to still have enough runs accumulated during that time to be able to get yourself that big score, isn't it?
Well, yes, the Pacers certainly had the measure of this pitch in those first few overs. That last over, Heinrich Klaassen has turned things around. Well, and bring on a quality spinner in Adil Rashid. How they handle him, and they seem to be going, being fairly positive at this stage. It will likely dictate how things go from here. Have you seen anything, any kind of purchase that Rashid is getting?
I don't think he seems to be getting too much at the moment. It's I mean, you wouldn't expect him to get too much turn on a. Well, I mean, down the coast. I think it would be interesting to see sort of the type of. I mean, we did see Wayne Parnell with quite a lot of swing and seam in those first couple of overs. So, you would expect Rashid to be very effective on this pitch, and I think that they seem to be treating him with a decent amount of respect, given the fact that they have lost those few wickets. We 20 of them over before this, but just 5 from that over, and 48 for 3 after 8. But I think the big thing is, they've still got batters in the shed. You still got Dwayne Pretoria to come. You've got Christian Jonker, who is an out-and-out batsman. You've got Kesha Maharaj. As we said earlier, even Brendan O'Brien can hold a bat. There are a couple of batters in the shed. Now these two, it's important, isn't it, to give them the platform for those guys to come in and do a finishing job and hopefully not have to contribute to a rebuild.
Yeah, the other bowling change is also going to be fairly interesting from the Pretoria Capitals point of view. And again, depending on how Rashid gets on here, to see Mutusami and see how he gets on a pitch here.
Yeah, so having a look at the log there, the Pretoria Capitals are at the top of the log. Durban Super Giants down at 8. But it is quite a close tournament at the moment. A couple of results go the right way, and all of a sudden things could be a bit closer than maybe we expected. But yeah, I mean, are there any sort of early favourites? I mean, are you going to be as bold to say, have you got top 2 teams that you've been sort of really been impressed with?
Well, I mean, at this stage, you have to look at the table, I think, and say the Pretoria Capitals are, and if they come away with a victory here, they're going to go on to 17 points, and everyone else will be, a ways behind them and playing to catch up. The Durban Super Giants, for them, if they lose here, yes, of course you can get back into the game. But potentially, if they win here, they can sort of join the party of those, hovering near the top of the table. So this is really quite a cool little match in terms of how some of the scenarios that play out after this and how important everything is.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I think the important thing maybe at the moment is we're all sort of full steam ahead towards the break for next week. So momentum's a funny thing. So I think if you're a team who have started well, you want to make sure that you really capitalize on your momentum going into that break. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're a team that hasn't started well, if you can just find yourself, like a Joburg Super Kings, currently sit at the bottom, if you could find yourself 1 or 2 good results before the break, I think they played twice. I think every team plays twice now between now and the end of the break. If you could find yourself a couple of results and be in a reasonable position and not too far behind people, then at least when you come back, you're still in the mix and you can actually take a bit of time off to sort of sort those issues, because obviously some people will be involved in the ODI stage, but not your entire sort of batting line, for example.
Yes, you talk about momentum. I think particularly,
well, he's gone over the top, but he's been caught. Jason Holder. Well, as we talk about the fact that they're rebuilding, Jason Holder decides to go after Mutusami. He's gone over the top. He's been caught out into the sweeper. 51 for 4. Durban Super Giants continue to struggle Well, I mean, speak of momentum, that's the worst possible thing to try and get momentum for the Durban Supergiants.
Well, I did say it's going to be interesting what happens when Mutasami comes into the game, and well, he's found success straight away and premeditated shot, definitely. Mutasami, dragged it down and left it out, in a good spot. He was reaching a little bit too far for that, wasn't he? And so that's why it went so very high. And now the momentum, I think, is back in Pretoria's, well, clearly it's back in Pretoria Capital's way, but there's a lot for Durban Supergiants to do here if they're going to post something they can defend against the powerful Pretoria Super Capitals.
Yeah, yeah, 51 for 4. Durban Supergiants kind of really 100 class. 21 of 14 has looked the only one who's looked really settled at the moment. He's currently striking at 150. You expect Dwayne Pretoria to come in and should see what his approach is. He can be very aggressive, knows how to clear the boundary. Plenty of experience. He's now basically a full-time T20 merchant. So, in terms of him getting his contracts, getting himself out there, these are situations where he really should prove himself and come good. But I mean, how do you think they should be going about it? Does he come on and add a bit of aggression, or do you think he kind of wants to play that foil to 100 class and let 100 class and take on the more responsibility and just be there for another 4 overs, so that when he starts to tee off in maybe 14, 15 overs, there's still 6 wickets in hand?
Well, I think, look, Heinrich Klaassen seems to have the measure of the pitch and the measure of the bowlers. I don't think he's played many full strokes in this innings that I can remember. So certainly he looks like the guy to take the Super Giants through to as close to the end as possible. I would suggest he needs to carry on playing the way he's playing. And Pretoria's, given the parlous state of the other batting so far in the Super Giants innings, he needs to take a little bit of time to get used to the bounce and what the bowlers are managing to get out of the pitch.
Yeah, fully agree. Right, that is the strategy break. After 8.5 overs, we are going to take a bit of a break. We're going to sort out a few things, sort a couple of technical issues we are having here, so we will return very shortly. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys in a little bit. You. Oh, he's gone. Oh, he's gone. When I was about to say hello and welcome back, and he's gone. Wow, how's that for welcome back? Mutasami, the Midas touch, Christian Jonker, his first game. Riza, not what Durban Super Giants need. 59 for 5, 10.2, travel to the year.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And I was just saying that the loss of Holder's wicket was already slightly precarious and a bit dodgy. And as we turn back on, Mutasami with the breakthrough here. And now you have to say that this game's firmly in Pretoria Capital's hands.
Yeah, so, I mean, 59.5, 10 point, I mean, what do you think is the reason here? Because you've got Heinrich Klaassen who's come on and he's looked very comfortable. 28 of 18, 2 sixes, a 4 strike at 155. He's looked very comfortable. Everybody else has struggled. What has he done differently? What do you think the difference has been?
Between the two teams, I think, is temperament. I think the Pretoria Capitals, on top of their obvious ability, is their game management. And they certainly have done their homework. You can see that they aren't trying to do things differently. When they catch a boundary or two here and there, they haven't been phased by it. There's not a lot of movement in their fields. They're sticking to their guns and they're saying to their bowlers, bowl the areas that we're expecting, and we will get the wickets and the rewards for it.
Now, 5 wickets down, but you got Rem Torres into the middle there. Man can bat. Heinrich Klaassen can bat. What is the strategy? You've got just less than 10 overs. Do you just get to 14, 15 and then go for it, or what do we do now?
I think you have to. You've got to bat your 20. You have to. It's cardinal sin number 1 in T20 cricket not to bat your overs. And I think that Dwayne here needs to play the support role, even if it is a runner ball, and get Heinrich Klaassen into the game and let him start taking some risk. I mean, if you go from here, let's call it 8, 9 and over towards the end, you're still sitting with a decent, respectable total of close to 140. And I think you take that, considering the situation that they're in, and you hope to hell that you can defend it. But to go out there and get blasted for 100 or even 110, you haven't given yourself a chance.
Yeah, and I think that's something, for example, the Joburg Super Kings were guilty of a couple of days ago against Pretoria Capitals on Wednesday, I believe it was, at Supersport Park, is that, yeah, went out, tried to be aggressive, got bowled off by 100 or 110 or whatever it was, and you're just never in the game, even if you bowl well, you know. Even if a pass scores, I suppose, at 170, 180, 140 can be defended with good bowling, for example, but 100 is a non-starter.
Yeah, absolutely. We see Mutasami and the effect that a wicket has. That over there, only 2 runs with the wicket early on in the over. The rest of the over, batsmen are not likely to chase after you. They're a bit rattled and so on, and that's the effect that a wicket has.
Yeah, I mean, look at the batting scorecard, and it's Mayers with a 0, Liam Mulder with 5 of 7, Quinton de Kock 13 of 15, Holder 10 of 16, Jonker 1 of 5, the 2 batsmen in the middle, 100 class 28 of 19, Graham Torres 1 of 3. It's a bit of a sad looking batting card rather. If you look at the bowling card, very impressive. Jimmy Neesham went for 20 in his over, but apart from that, you've got Graham Parnell, who's bowled 3 overs, 2 for 12. You've got Ethan Bosch, who's bowled 2 overs, none for 4. I don't know if Nokia's bowled 2 overs, 1 for 13. Mutasami's now gone 2 overs, 2 for 5. It's been really impressive stuff. And I think what's also been so impressive is the fact, you know, that dot ball pressure. Wayne Parnell bowling 13 dot balls.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what's really sort of enticed those big shots? The fact that they have managed to accumulate so many dot balls.
I wouldn't even call them big shots. I call them lazy shots.
Yeah.
See, as Rashid comes in here. Yeah, and it's hard to say because I'm tempted to lambaste DSG a little bit and say, well, you know, you're facing, in my opinion, the best fast bowler in the world right now in Andre Nokia.
Yeah.
And Wayne Parnell, who's been in the form of his life, and see them off. But then, as we see here, you've got Adil Rashid coming in, he's a seasoned campaigner.
Yeah.
And you're unlikely to get many runs off him. And so, yeah, I want to say I have the answers for you, but the reality is that you had to have taken somebody on. You had to have had one person who was the target in your mind, and it had to come off. Which means you either pick apart Parnell early, you pick apart Nokia early, Rashid later, but someone needs to be chosen. Right now, you're coasting.
Yeah, I suppose you can't bat out 3 bowlers. That's 12 overs. you know.
Just
So
can't.
they went after Jimmy Neesham, for example, but they don't need to bowl Jimmy Neesham again if they don't. I reckon he probably will. But you can maybe say, right, there's one bowler we're not going to go after. But you start saying there's 2 bowlers not going to go after, that could be 8 overs. And if there's 3 bowlers you're still not going to struggle to go after, that's 12 overs. That's well over half your innings, you know. You can't only be going hard at 8 overs as Clarkson sort of carves it out to the deep. They haven't seen too many boundary shots at the moment, just sort of looking to try and, I think, just survive at the moment. This over just going for 2 balls.
Yeah, and you also, you look at that, like you said, Neesham got a bit of tap there, pulled out of the attack immediately, and in came someone else with the wicket. And the problem is now, is you're sitting there going, well, that was probably our one option to go after. Unfortunately, Wayne Parnell settled into rhythm. Bosch, Mukia, Rashid, Mutsami, all of them have settled into rhythm. This is very much looking like ODI cricket. They'd be happy to bowl all 4 on the trot if you let them.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, I think Rashid has got now 2 overs, none for 7, economy of 3.5, and Mutasami's gone for 2 overs, 2 for 5, economy of 2.5. I mean, why would you bring them out the attack right now?
Yeah. I'm actually very tempted to say that this tournament so far for me has been a bowlers tournament. I really don't think that the batsmen have, or batters I should say, have put on much of a showing so far. And of course there's 1 or 2 individuals who are scoring some runs, but I think the bowlers have controlled this.
Yeah, speaking of bowlers, so Mutasami, it's a bit wide, and they'll take some. They'll welcome any runs no matter how they came in. And I think it's been interesting because I think, South Africa, especially, you think of Pretoria, you think of Joburg, and you think that those are going to be really good batting decks. You should have some really high scores there. But I tend to agree with you. I think that we're discovering, for example, Migala has been. If you think of players of the tournament, 100 class is the target run score, and yet if I were to name sort of 3 players of the tournament, I probably wouldn't even bring him into the conversation.
Yeah.
I'd be thinking of somebody like a Marco Jansen because he's done both with bat and ball. You'd be thinking of a Sasana Magala because he's been so good with the ball. Andrew Nokia has been sublime with the ball.
Yeah.
And maybe that sort of sums it up as well.
Yeah, I think, as a batter, you're not sitting there overly concerned if you blank on an innings. But when you're a bowler and you're out there and you've taken tap and you've gone 4 overs and you've gone 40 odd, 50 or whatever, the chances are you're probably getting dropped after that. People seem to be a little more lenient on the batters than they do with the bowlers. We see a almost run out there, a little knockdown into the deep, a good arm, and it looks like, I think it's Pretorius might have been struggling a little bit or had a
Well,
slip.
I think Clarkson seemed pretty keen for the second. Pretorius, I don't think was particularly keen at all.
A little bit of a fumble there.
Yeah, I think Clarkson just guilty of not actually listening because I think he stuck his hand out and started shouting quite early, and Clarkson just continued taking off. Bit of a width there, and Clarkson just sort of hammers it down to long on.
What do you think of Mutsami so far?
Well, I mean, it's what a dream, really. I mean, 2 for 9 after 2.4. Again, the Durban Super Giants, especially with the spinners, and this was last Tuesday, you could see definitely had in his mind. He wanted players who was going to extract the best out of this Kingsmead service. And Mutasami has played a lot of cricket on here, and I think that it's really showing.
So you think there's something to be said for a bit more of the local talent to be included in these teams? So you guys with the knowledge?
Well, that's what I think. Sorry, the point I'm trying to make is that the Durban Super Giants have backed a lot of locals. So you see Mutasami, who plays out of Durban, playing Pretoria Capitals. Look how well he's gone.
Yeah,
I think there'll be good signs there for Durban Super Giants. But yeah, it just shows you how. And it's interesting, you look at sort of your home games, your away games, somebody like a Mutasami for the Pretoria Capitals probably won't play a lot at Supersport Park. You might not even play in the semis and finals they were to get there because it's not necessarily a spinner's track. But you have to have a couple of ace up your sleeves when you go down to the coast, when you're playing at Kingsmead, when you're playing at St George's Park, when you're playing in Cape Town. Adil Rashid is a player that can bowl on any surface.
Yeah.
Mutasami, I think, someone who's really extracting the most out of this Kingsmead surface. And it makes me excited to see what the likes of a Sir Brian and a Kesha Maharaj can do later. Right, Rashid. Oh, he's got him. It's the big wicket of 100 Clarkson as well. And that's just, it's almost rolled. It's just kept so low.
It has almost rolled, but Klaassen hasn't done himself any favors here. He's
No.
gotten straight onto the back foot. It looked like he'd made his mind up earlier. He was going over cow corner no matter where that ball went, and it was full. It stayed incredibly low.
Yeah, just, I mean, hits halfway up the stands, but I think the biggest mistake, we always used to say, down when we're not playing the Eastern Cape, you don't go to your back foot in the Eastern Cape, and I think that's
Sure.
probably what he's guilty of doing there. He's gone back, yeah, I just said almost before the ball's even bowled, decided to try and play with the back foot, and he's been caught a little bit of no man's land there. And the big wicket of 100 Klaassen, 66-4-6. Adil Rashid finally gets his first. He's been incredibly economical, hasn't found the breakthrough. And now,
Cameraman doing the best work, yeah?
well, now we're into. Thanks for jinxing it. Now we're into the bowlers. I mean, Maharaj can hit a ball. There's no doubt about it, but he's not an all-rounder, especially in this sort of this format. And now again, the onus is now falling to Pretoria. He's played 3 of 11, a very measured, very slow knock. He'll back Kesha Maharaj, but there'll be that small little thing in the back of his mind saying, "I've got to go pretty soon because there's not a lot of batting. If Kesh leaves me, I'm in the tail here."
Well, well, again, we go back to the argument. Do you go now and say hit and hope that you last out the 20, or
do you sit there saying,
circumspect?
if I can get 40, 50 runs in the next 3 overs, that's going to be the same as trying to eke out 40, 50 runs in the next 6 overs, I suppose. It's always a difficult one. You know, I think the biggest issue is they've really struggled to rotate strike. You know, if you're sitting there confident that you can get yourself 6 to 7 and over for the next 3 overs, then great. Add that extra 21, you know, get you to what's up towards 90 and then try and explode. But I feel like they've really struggled to rotate strike today.
So we see there Rashid with his first ball to Keshav. It's just turned away to the leg side for no run. Rashid fielding with his own ball in there. And I think there's a big problem here with these 2 spinners and the way they've been approached by the batters is they haven't challenged their lengths. Been very much stuck in their crease, and I know Mutsami as well as Rashid at times can bowl very flat, but to get them to change that, to get them to change their lengths, you can't just sit back in your crease. You've got to shift around a little bit. You've got to make some room for yourself. And right now they're just bowling away the same ball repeatedly over and over again.
I think it's a good point. I don't think we've really seen them try anything. We haven't even seen any sort of sweeps coming out. We haven't seen sort of too many attacking shots. They've really let them settle and find their rhythm. And that's a spinner, especially as, for example, Rashid, who's a leggy. Yeah, I mean, you get into your rhythm. You know, he's now turning it quite a lot. He's really, you know, putting the revs up because he's not under pressure. He can now sit there going, right, let me really get stuck into this. Where, especially as a leggy, you go after a leggy early on. You get there, you throw them off their length. They can become.
Yeah, we know a few leggies like that. You know, once you've ruined it for them, they're probably going to stop bowling.
Yeah, played with a few, played with far, and we'll play with far too many to come. 13.5 overs, run rate down to 4.7. Again, this is looking at the Wiki Maiden unless they get a single off here. Rotational strike, a massive problem.
DSG sitting on a very uncomfortable 666 there, 66 for 6. One has to wonder, maybe they do need a bit of satanic power here.
Well, let's see if she can close out the over. And yeah, Maharaj very
wicket
happy.
maiden.
And you can't be having a wicket maiden in the 14th over. And to discuss why you cannot be having a wicket maiden in the over, we will have Matt and Steve, the other Steve, back in here for the final 6 overs. Lots of action to come. And as the Durban Super Giants look to try and fumble their way to a reasonable target. And we'll see you guys soon.
Welcome back to our coverage of DSG Durban Super Giants up against the Pretoria Capitals. When Steven Reeser left you, it was 14 overs gone, 66 for 6 was the score of the Durban Supergiants. Now I'm joined now by the other Steve Kirker. Steve, thanks so much for joining me. What have you made so far of the innings?
Well, it's been very patchy, hasn't it? It was looking good at one stage when Heinrich Klaassen got stuck into Nisham, and he was playing really well. But unfortunately, just when they needed him to stick around, the ball kept a little bit low. But the premeditated shot, and it didn't come off, and they've lost Heinrich Klaassen. And there's a great deal to do here for Dwayne Pretorius and Keshav Maharaj. And Maharaj has been pretty circumspect in the first few deliveries he's faced. So I saw the projected score based on that run rate, put them at about 99. From here, they'll be really, really fortunate to get to three figures, I think, because the way they're batting, they seem likely to be, losing wickets again.
Yeah, it's as you say. I mean, the three figures is probably a big thing because the truth of the matter is, as we see, Dwayne Pretorius is gone. Well, that is huge drama. He went after Muchasami there. Bit of a wild swing. It certainly didn't get all of it, a thick top edge, and he just sent it down to the man at that short third man kind of a position. 4 runs, Dwayne Pretorius. That puts them on what is it, 69 now, 7 wickets down. You have to say, is this curtains?
I think so. I mean, I think so. I mean, I think it's going to be very, very. We're going to see something very, very special for the Pretoria Super Kings not to win this and not to pick up the bonus point. And the Pretoria Capitals rather, and I was saying earlier, they do seem to be the team who've been playing the most consistently and playing the best.
Yeah.
There's a certain consistency to the way Joburg's playing, but it's not the right kind of consistency.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It's looking dreadful. I mean, Hardeephil Yoon comes to the crease now in at number 9. And I mean, the scorecard, everything, it just makes for absolutely abysmal reading. 69 for the loss of 7. And, it frustrates me. I mean, I'm not really even necessarily a Durban fan, but it frustrates me in that there is a good batting lineup here. Kyle Mayers, Vian Mulder, we know can bat. Quinton de Kock, Heinrich Klaassen, Dwayne Pretorius, obviously, who's just gone out. Now we see the first ball going to Hardeephil Yoon, a bit of turn there on offer from Muchasami, which means it is the end of the 15th over. That one going for just 3 runs and a wicket. But back to what I was saying, this Durban Supergiants lineup it feels to me like the batters are underperforming because you can't tell me that there's not a batting lineup here. I mean, we go all the way down. Christian Jonker, even Keshav Maharaj. Now, they're 7 wickets down. You got Keshav Maharaj at the crease. He can still bat.
Indeed, he can. And just as you said that, I mean, what it strikes me with the T20 game is generally when a team posts a big score, you're going to get 1 or 2 batsmen really contributing.
Yeah.
You sort of spending a lot of time at the wicket, and a couple of others maybe coming in and hitting those really fast runs, but not really sticking around a long time. But I think you may find that Durban Supergiants just aren't they're having 1 or 2 of those batters, like in this innings, the Heinrich Klaassen, although still a bit of a failure doing that, and everyone else is. Well, this is an exception because none of the other batters have got to come to terms with the pitch. So, I think perhaps that's what the Pretoria Capitals have done is they've had at least 1 or 2 batters in each innings just about that they've played. Score some runs.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, and look, I don't want to say it's kind of too early to talk about it, but we look at what's to come with the Pretoria Capitals team. I mean, or should I rather say, the Durban Supergiants bowling lineup. And, they've got a Reece Topley, they've got a Sue Bryan, they've got Hardy Full-Yoon, we know can bowl obviously very well. Dwayne Pretorius, the excellent bowler. Jason Holder is not too shabby. Kesh with the spin on offer. So now, Durban must, I know there's still nearly 5 overs left, but surely part of them is going, well, now we've got to keep an eye on this pitch, and, maybe they're starting to think about the next innings.
Well, and we know that Durban, the pitch and of course the way the ball swings in the air can change. There's the whole thing about when the tide is in, and think about when the fast bowlers were bowling at the beginning of this innings was in that time in the evening where we expect to see the pace bowlers to be getting a lot, and it can get a little bit flatter for the pace bowlers a little bit later here in Durban. So, while they do have a strong pace attack, are they going to be getting the same kind of response from the conditions that Parnell and Nortje got in those early overs? And now, of course, what's happened is the spinners have come on and they've really just, doubled up that pressure. Remember, the seamers can still come back here and really clean this up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's funny you say that. I mean, we see Adil Rashid rather coming in for his last over now. And what has he gone for? He's gone for a single and a dot as the next one comes in. That looks like another dot ball. Let's not forget, we still got Wayne Parnell with another over. Heinrich Nortje still has 2 more to bowl. Ethan Bosch, who, again, I was saying a little bit earlier on, Teresa, has been kind of one of the, I don't want to say surprises, but one of the better performers so far of the tournament. He's gone for just 4 runs from his 2 overs. So, clearly, at least, as you say, there has been something on offer for the, for the quicks in the early exchanges. I think it'll be interesting to see, though, what happens now. I mean, clearly they can't bowl Rashid anymore. They're going to have to go back to that pace. It's going to be interesting to see then. Maybe that'll be a bit of an indication for Durban Supergiants about what they can, perhaps expect when they come now to bowl.
Yeah, look, one expects this could go. Well, yes, it could go one of 2 ways, but my feeling is that when the pace bowlers come on, we might see a couple of big runs, but I don't think they're going to see out the 20 overs here.
No, I must be honest, I don't see it either. I mean, you mentioned the big overs, but, Keshav Maharaj, hardest for Luna at the crease, and you've just got Sue Bryan and Topley to come. Those big overs, I'm not even entirely certain where they're going to come from, when you have your bigger batters, so to speak, struggling at the crease. I mean, we might see a couple of wild swings that go to the boundary, but I mean, at this point now, into the 16th over, 72 for 7, 4.5 is their run rate. Surely they're not going to get to 100.
No, I wouldn't think so. I'll ask you, Matt, is looking at that Durban Supergiants squad, looking at what's available to them, could they have made better selections? So, I mean, at the moment, we're particularly looking at the way people have batted. My feeling is Wian Mulder's, he's made some runs. Quinton de Kock, I think the skipper's probably a little bit disappointed with the way he's gone. Heinrich Klaassen has been one of the form players. And Christian Jonker, this is only his 3rd game in T20s. And he can really hit the ball hard. I mean, I think his strike rate was sitting around 200 before today's innings. But, he only managed to score 1 off 5. So, do you say, oh, well, the batting lineup just had a bad day? We have to wait and see how the Pretoria Capitals go about, knocking off these runs, because maybe the game is going to be closer than we're expecting. Well, certainly I'm expecting it to be. I'm expecting this to be an easy stroll for the Pretoria Capitals. But, change in personnel for Durban?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, have a look at the squad. You got you got a Kyle Abbott. I mean, for me, look, let me just start off by saying, I can't see you needing a change of batting lineup. You've got an outstanding batting lineup in that Durban Supergiants setup, and I will fight that one. That is a hill I will die on. But with the ball in hand, you got a Kyle Abbott. We know he's certainly an experienced campaigner. Just over 35. He can certainly do a job with the ball. Junior Dala's another one who's an interesting one. I mean, he's kind of, I tend to kind of see him almost as a strike bowler insofar as he can go for runs, but he can also pick up some much needed wickets. We saw Akira Dharanjaya playing in the first couple of matches, and he looked all right. But again, who do you change? Do you drop out Keshav Maharaj if you're gonna go with a spin? You got Simon Harmer as well. I don't see enough really there with their bowling, to be honest with you. Vian Mulder, as you say, he's there. I think they're, to be honest with you, I think they just don't have the lethal bowling that they would like to have. That to me, that's really what their biggest issue is here, because I don't see an issue with the bat.
No, yeah, interesting point though. So they need their bowlers to win them games, because based on this kind of performance, which again, it's fairly early days in the tournament, but this tournament happens so quickly. Yes, there's a bit of breathing room shortly, but within a couple of days, you might have lost 2 or 3 matches, and suddenly whatever situation you're in doesn't look that way at all. It looks very, very bad.
Yeah, no, it does. And I mean, as you say, early days, but early days is not early days in 3 days from now, kind of a thing, because you'll get another 2 matches quickly under your belt. Let's see now. By the way, Eirik Nokia back into the attack. We spoke about what the pace might offer. We saw that one keeping a little bit low, beating Keshav Maharaj safely through to the keeper for another dot ball. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, if you look at the overall log, you say, all right, fine. Durban Super Giants are on 8 points. You've got the Pretoria Capitals currently sitting at top of the standings on 13. Do Durban look at this and go, all right, fine, if we get thrashed here by, I don't know, let's say 8 wickets or something, does that give you the feeling that they're out of the tournament? Or, there's still a lot to play. Do you think that there's something to be said for them maybe coming back?
Well, it can happen. Yes, of course it can happen. But I would think it's unlikely. Although the break may change things completely. And, the pitches may be a little bit different then as well. That's another point. Perhaps the discussion comes at the halfway point. Are the teams happy with the pitches that they prepared? Say at home, Durban Super Giants. This is on this is their home ground. You mentioned this. You mentioned the strength of their. That they lack a particular bowling strength. Yet here this pitch looks to be one that the bowlers are getting something out of. So maybe they need a pitch which is a bit easier for the bowlers. I mean, a bit easier for the batters, and assist the bowlers less, to sort of level the playing field slightly.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the way I see it as well. I think the questions have to be asked about this pitch. We've seen this pitch offer plenty of turn to Rashid. We've seen Wayne Parnell come in the early overs, and he's generated a crazy amount of swing. And we've also seen Ethan Bosch come in with a bit of movements off the seam. If I'm in charge of Kingsmead right now, surely the Super Giants are saying, well, we got to prepare this as much more of a batting deck. We've got the top run scorer of the tournament in Heinrich Klaassen. We've got Quinton de Kock. We know how destructive he can be. We've got Dwayne Pretorius. We've got a great many batters here who really can explode. I mean, maybe they will. Maybe I'm hoping, at least for their sake, and I'm hoping for the Durban Super Giants fans' sake, as we see Keshav Maharaj swing and a miss wildly at that one, a short ball from Nortje. That is officially classed as a bouncer, but not a wide. Yeah, I have to say, maybe the break will be good for them. I like to believe that they're a side that can get in, because let's be honest, we need all of the teams really to be doing well in this tournament, don't we? In order for SA20 to succeed.
Ideally, but it has happened in in other leagues as well. These T20 leagues where one team's had a shocker. It's too early to say that the Durban Super Giants are going to be that team, because Joburg may run them close. But
yeah, that's also true. Sadly, yeah.
Yeah. But
Look,
I,
you know, I sit here and I think to myself, I wonder what'll happen with the tournament as a whole. Because, you know, I'm looking at Cricket South Africa and I'm saying the finances are an absolute disaster area. We know this. They've put so much at stake for SA20. It's been a good tournament so far. There's no doubting that. Do you think we'll see, from what you've seen so far at least, do you think we'll see a tapering off of the fans attending? If, say, for example, tonight DSG get absolutely mangled and it looks as though they might not be succeeding in the tournament, do you think we'll see a tapering off of fans and attendance?
that's an interesting question. I mean, yes, you want kind of hometown support, but such is the nature of these leagues, and the way they mix and match players. There's something refreshing about that, and I think more broadly speaking, if we speak to the entertainment value, and guess what, as we speak, Ethan Bosch has come back on, and he has picked up the wicket of Hardest Viljoen, who's gone for 2. He stuck around for, what is that, the 7 or 8 deliveries?
Yeah, 7 deliveries, yeah. Yeah, look at that shot. I mean, that's just, what is it? That's kind of he took a couple of steps backwards towards the leg side. He got a bit of a leading edge there and just skied that one. I mean, look, that's, in a way, you can't really blame him. That is a bowler's delivery that, you know, that he went out to in terms of his batting skill. 2 for 7, a strike rate of 28. I mean, look, you know, you never want to ask Hardest Viljoen to be the man to score all your runs. As we see Sir Brian now coming to the crease, another man who, let's be honest, is not really known for his batting. A lot rests on Keshav Maharaj. We look at it, 17.1, 4.31 the strike rate. 74 for 8. Keshav Maharaj, 4 of 14. Surely now even, I want to say almost even 90 isn't looking likely.
No, well, 85. Can they make it to 85? Slowest scoring run rates of an innings. I think Joburg might run this, but this, if memory serves, is quite likely one of the slowest. And there's a very good delivery, an absolutely brilliant Yorker. Subarayan has just come to the wicket, and he's been comprehensively yorked, as far as I can tell. That looked pretty plumb to me, but I mean, in the circumstances, he's got to go for the review.
Yeah, no, look, obviously he has to. Yeah, I mean, look, he was given out. Umpire looked pretty confident. From what I saw, it did, it looked like a very good shout from the fielding team. But as you say, he has to go with it. Ethan Bosch, though, look, let's assume that this is given. That's 2 wickets for 4 runs. So as we have a look now at this replay, yeah, it's no, I wouldn't say not a York. No. It's just it's a length delivery, but he just kind of didn't get his legs out the way and didn't get his back to it. We go to the ultra edge. Absolutely nothing on that. What do you reckon the call is going to be here?
Yeah, this looks as if, remember, it was umpire's call in the field, and it looks as if it's pitched all right. It's low enough, and I think it's going to hit that stump. So,
very narrow.
Call. Umpire's call. Yeah, my feed wasn't great. I called it a Yorker. It was back of that length, but I think Bosch actually held something back in that. It was a slower delivery possibly, and I think that's maybe how. Excellent first ball to Subarayan.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, as you can see, he definitely took a lot of pace off that one. Which, in the grand scheme of things, it might be academic in the end, because 74 for 9 currently. I mean, probably 60 seconds ago, you and I were talking about getting to 85. They're not even getting to 75 as things stand, as we see a very glum-looking Lance Klusener. Reece Topley comes in at 11. I think probably 11 is going to be more or less his best score. It's just... It leaves everything to be desired, doesn't it? Overall, it's just been a collapse, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I wonder if Lance Klusener is thinking he should have kept his hat in the ring for the Proteas.
Yeah, Yeah, well, I mean, look, there were those rumors. It's an interesting one. We'll have to see. I mean, maybe we should discuss that actually briefly. What do you make of the new Proteas coaching lineup with going with the two coaches instead of the one, similar to what we've seen England do?
Well, I think the way cricket's going, that's going to be inevitable. Shukri Conrad, you know, there may be some criticism for the fact that, he hasn't sort of had that, first team experience at the highest international level. But how else are you going to get it? And he's been in the system for so long, and he knows the players, and he's been everything from I seem to remember he's been on the selection panel. He's been involved with the international setup for a long time, dealing with various age groups. And I think he's the right person in terms of understanding the dynamics of the country we live in. Because remember, you can be tone deaf. There was a lot of tone deaf stuff happening under Mark Boucher, which caused problems, with the knee thing, all this kind of thing. And I think Cricket South Africa's had to confront some of those issues.
Have they confronted them?
Well, that's another debate. That's another debate. But what I think is someone like Shukri Conrad, who has, he's much more aware of, he has a greater awareness. And I don't want to say Mark Boucher was unaware, but there can be some blindness. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, I fully agree with you. I think you nailed that on the head. You don't want to say Mark Boucher was unaware, but yeah, I think blindness is probably a good way of putting it.
And that's got nothing to do with that unfortunate accident which ended his career. Sorry, that was a bit low, but I mean, it's fair enough. I think that's a...
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, as you say. Look, I think he's one of the old boys club, isn't he? And I think a Shukri Conrad, well, he might not be this massive revelation. We might not be bringing in a Baz Ball and something like that. I think he might just be the quiet we need. By the way, as we see Reece Topley hitting the first boundary in what it feels like 3.5 hours. As DSG bring up the 80-run mark after 18 overs.
Maybe that 85. Maybe Topley's going to show the rest of the batting lineup what to do.
Well, look, I mean, it wouldn't be too hard. Hit 2 boundaries, and you've pretty much shown them all what to do anyway, haven't you? Look, I think Shukri Conrad is one of those guys who might just quietly go along and get the business done. Which I think, to be honest with you, it might be something that the Proteas need, just somebody who quietly gets the job done while not being tone deaf.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, such is our consumption of the game. Ultimately, Shukri Conrad is now going to become a much more higher profile person. I mean, I've interviewed him many, many times over the years, and I've always found him a wonderful man to speak to. And, he's always offers, very... Ooh!
Sorry to interrupt you. There we go. That's it. That. Keshav Maharaj slapping one out to the offside, and we see another wicket coming for Wayne Parnell. I mean, not Wayne Parnell, rather Heinrich Nordkjær. And that means Keshav Maharaj departs for 5 of 16 deliveries. My goodness, doesn't that kind of sum it up for you? As the Durban Super Giants are bowled out, something that Reza and other Steve were talking about earlier on. They didn't reach the 20 overs, and I mean, I think that's very important.
Oh, yeah. Look, it's a 20-over game. If you can bat 50 overs in a 50-over game, 20 overs, you really have to try and see it through, because you can accept in a test match or a one-day game, you can have those collapses and not bat them out, but you should be able to, despite those many collapses in a T20 game, pull it through. But how many times have we seen it? It can happen.
Yeah, no, as you say, I mean, it's one of the old adages of what is a new game in 20-over cricket. You have to take it deep, and I think we've seen them, well, certainly not take it deep. As we look at this final score and we say to ourselves, this could be in for a very early night. All out for 80 are Durban Super Giants. In a batting lineup that includes Bjorn Mulder, Quinton de Kock, the top run scorer of the tournament in Heinrich Klaassen, the explosive Dwayne Pretorius, they're all out for 80. As a final word, Steve, what are you expecting now to see from the next innings?
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. The Pretoria Capitals are going to pick up a bonus point here, and they are going to put a lot of room between the rest of themselves, between themselves and the chasing pack. And it's just a dismal performance so far from the Durban Super Giants. You know, can they pick up something with the ball in hand? Let's hope so. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at, I don't know, we might see 7 or 8 overs of the Capitals, and then it's going to be done and dusted.
Yeah, well, there you have it. The word from Mr. Stephen Kirker is that we're expecting a bonus point win for the Pretoria Capitals. That's after the Durban Super Giants are bowled out for 80 runs after just 18.1 overs. Really shocking showing from them, but it does remain to be seen. Maybe, as we've said, something will happen with the ball in hand, but you have to say it does look like a very much an uphill battle here for the men from Durban. When we return, we will bring you that innings.
Wow. And as we come back, and I'm just being sworn at in the studio, it's going down. There's a lot of hostility here. I reckon there's probably a bit of fists going around in that Durban Super Giants change. And you reckon a couple of Oaks will just throw hands?
There's a lot more fights in the studio than there is on the field.
It's not hard. It's not hard. Durban Super Giants are defending a measly 80. Kyle Mayer starting. Reza, do Durban Super Giants have any chance?
No chance.
No chance, right. No chance is the call, ladies and gentlemen, as Kyle Mayers looks to go to... I think it's Full Salt. And Full Salt decides... Oh, he's got first up! Kyle Mayers, the magician. It's a right smile from Phil Salt.
Well, that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm clearly not cut out for this job. And
Look, we're glad you said it, but Kyle Mayers... Wow, what a start. What an absolute...
Wow.
Phil Salt trying to be aggressive over the top, really wanted to go. He's got a bit of a nice and just, you got to think, why? Why would you pull that shot? You're facing 80.
Oh, buddy.
Well, Phil Salt, gone for none.
I'm actually shook.
Yeah, we are all shook. And we're going to talk about this in just a second. Right, no bad. No bad. Does he have a hat trick? Is he going to be on the hat trick?
It looks like it's on the knee roll.
Well, here we
Hey,
go.
look, this should be middle stump.
Ooh, can be missing.
Oh,
Missing. That's a...
Oh, gee, that's a lot of movement.
I mean, you feel sorry for the ump in that ball, don't you, really, actually? Because, I mean, impact's middle stump. What a reprieve.
Yeah, I mean, DRS had that missing by a long way. It doesn't look like it in real time. Got to say, if I was the umpire, I probably would be making a similar call.
Now, well, it looked like a good shot. I mean, as I said, impact was middle when they looked at the DRS. I'm not sure it was going to move as much as it suggested. But anyway, so none for one. Calmez into his third. Oh!
Has he got bats on that?
Well, they're appealing once again. The
This
decision
looks
from
a
the
better
umpire
shot.
will be interesting here because they're appealing. They were very interested in it. Is this going to go down as leg buys? Because if it's leg buys, I wonder if they do go up.
And it might be a case of once burned, twice shy there for the umpire, who's reluctant to make the call.
Tell you what. I tell you,
I think that's a better shot.
I
I
tell
think
you
that's
what.
a better shot. Now I think with 80 runs on the board,
You got to go upstairs. You might as well. At the end of the
What's
day,
the
the
point?
only way you can get anywhere near defending this is if you can go and get 2 wickets for no runs and hit the middle order in quite quickly.
this is a fascinating start to the SA20 and this game on the SA20, and I I thought this was going to be a bit of a dead rubber, a bit of a boring game, but the game started like this. Always stay tuned, folks.
Massive. So Maria Rasmus, Rasmus, the goat, is in the is the TV umpire here. I tell you what, it looks like it's doing quite a lot once again. The question is it doing too much?
I don't see any bat there.
And
that's lower.
There's no bat, and
It
it's
is lower
and
now.
it looks
Look at that.
straight, eh? The only problem is he's quite far out, so depending on how much they reckon it's doing.
You look, it's going to have to make good contact with the stumps to overturn umpire's call. I think it might just be down leg though.
Oh, down leg once again. Just doing too much. Doing too much.
It's just that angle with the wrist as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to struggle to get a call there.
But Carl Mayers, when you talk about pressure,
With the shot.
worth a shot.
shot.
At the end of the day, it was going to go for 4. So I mean, if you could turn a 4 into a wicket and be none for 2, then why not? So the decision will be 4 leg buyers. It did come when there was no bat involved, so it will be leg buyers. But goodness me, what a start we've had to this innings.
Look, the Brain's obviously eyeing out an area there down by fine leg. He keeps walking across the stumps, and with the angle, it's not a bad play, but you put yourself in danger. You miss, he hits.
Yeah, no, 100%. And interesting to see if he tries it a third time, but I think he just almost actually. I'll be interested to see what he does here. In fact, he might actually try and give himself a bit of space.
What does Mayers do now?
Maybe look to square him up, I suppose. You can try to sort of go find that 4 stump line. He goes pretty wide, but let's beat the outside edge.
Wow. Okay. I think it's safe to say the Brain wasn't expecting that.
No.
He was definitely protecting the legs and the stumps.
Yeah, so I think Mayers was did right to go outside the line. I think maybe if he'd gone a bit, cheapers. You look at he's getting 3 points. He's getting an extra 2 degrees of movement in the power play compared to other bowlers.
Wow.
I mean, looking back at that in-swinging Yorker that he bowled to Deval Brevis. Carl Mayers going in once again, turns to Brad, will say thank you very much.
It's a lot of movement. It's a lot of movement, and it's good. It's good to see. To me, in my mind, the art of the swing bowling is dying a bit.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. And some are blaming the balls that are being used, and a lot of also blaming just in general conditions and so on. But yeah, good to see someone still making a good exponent of it.
Yeah, and I think Carl Mayers has become a very important cog in this Durban Supergiant side. Again, I think somebody who's gone a bit under radar when he was picked up. In terms of one of the big your big star performers, he's really been out there this tournament, both with ball and bat. He's getting important wickets. He's got the ability to play some couple of top knots. I mean, he opens the batting and the bowling.
Right from the first performance, I saw something in him. I definitely think he's going to be valuable, and I'm sure he'll be picked up again in many more franchises after this.
Alright, so 3 runs off the over off the bat there, plus 4 leg buys. Carl Mayers will be pretty chuffed with that. He had two big shots for LBW, both missing because he was just doing too much. But Phil Salt in the dugout is probably the main takeaway from that over. And at the end of the day, if you're going to make an interesting chase out of this, 7 for 1 after the first, you've got to get Riley Rousseau out there, and you've got to get him back in the dugout, because you want to get your Dadswell, Nish, and Parnell, and ask them to get a reasonable amount. Again, with 80, there's just not enough runs at the end of the day. But if you can get 2 or 3 wickets for next to no runs, just a bit of doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. I think by the 5 over mark, you would have had to have made some indents there. Got in deep into that lineup, and give yourself a chance. But to be very honest, though, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, I think it's just 0, none for 2. You're thinking maybe there could be a day, but Reece Topley comes in and looks to try and square up Tears to Brain. And the nice thing about Tears to Brain doesn't need a rush here. They don't need to attack anybody. I mean, you look at the power at the bonus point, they're going to chase within 16 overs. I think they bat 10, 12 overs, they'll get this pretty comfortably at the end of the day. So, no pressure really on the batsman here.
Yeah, decent stats here for Reece Topley. You're going to give everyone a chance at getting a couple of wickets. It should be him.
Yeah, 100%.
So he comes steaming in there. Good full, just a 1 there to mid off. A terrible throw by Heinrich Klaassen. But
he is a weak keeper. He is a weak keeper. I think we'll have to.
He's the wicket keeper.
Well, they'll have to allow it.
Yeah.
Not his forte.
Not having a good day is Heinrich Klaassen.
No, he's had a very good tournament, but not had a good day,
Yeah.
unfortunately, at all.
Can't be carrying them all the time though.
No, I mean, look, man's back. He's not as young as he used to be. I think the back issues do start to come in. You know, you got to look at the youth, try and carry a bit more. Right, Reece Topley. Can he make something happen? Can he try and make things a little bit interesting? Can he get a couple of Capitals batsmen sweating? At the end of the day, in a situation like this, you know, these are situations where, as a bowler, there's two ways you can approach it. You know, you're not probably going. Oh my!
Oh.
Well, Will Jacks just picked
One
you off
hand.
his legs,
Let's go.
and it's down again. It's down again.
The
She's
disappointment.
emerged with it in one hand. Nice try, but yeah, Will Jacks, who's seen beach balls this tournament, has picked it up with his legs beautifully. He's gone over sort of deep mid wicket and said, "Thank you very much." How easy is that? I mean, that just sort of flick. That's just timing and form, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, no crowd catch there, and just not going very well for Durban or their audience.
No, Topley going to his fourth, and he's punched that. He pierced the gap as well. That'll go straight. I mean, that's a cricket shot. That is a cricket shot on the up. And Heinrich gives good class, and he puts in the dive to make sure that nobody gives him any grief at fines for effort. But at the end of the day, he was always losing that race. And they very quickly got up to 18 for 1.
He hasn't overhit that at all. That's just clear out the middle of the bats.
It's just timing, isn't it? He just waits for this on the up and just a punch. Just a punch. Just trust the deck.
Yeah.
Right, Topley into his fifth ball. Pretty straight. That'll just be the dot there. Gone for 11 is over so far as Topley. 18 for 1, which means the Capitals need just 63 more. They could do this in the power play if they really got going.
Sure, if they really wanted to. This has really put them on the front foot. There's really nothing to be concerned about, and we're sure that the batsmen are relishing the opportunity to step out a little bit.
Yeah, and I think we need to also relish the opportunity to be on comms, because I don't think we need a second shift here. You know?
I'm fine with that.
We'll call it early. Another punch. He hasn't got a hold of it this time, so Klaassen should be able to rein it in. They should be able to get through for the 2. Very industrious over this was for the Pretoria Capitals, as Will Jacks takes apart Reece Topley for 13 in that over.
So, tell me, Steve, something that I've been looking for a lot is actually the ball speed. And I don't know why, but it seems to me that Supersport has just done away with it.
I think it seems to be certain grounds, which is interesting. And you sit there thinking, there's 6 teams, there's 6 grounds. Could we not afford 6 speedos? The amount of money being put into this tournament, and it's frustrating. And just small things as well. Maybe some people don't like it, but no zing bails, for example, at the stumps as well. You kind of feel like there are certain, when you sit there thinking about a big T20 tournament, what are some of the major sort of standard things you expect to see? And for me, as a speedometer, I want to see how fast the bowler's bowling. It's good to see that. I mean, obviously, you don't have Hawkeye, but to also, zing bails, the whole thing, just to create that thing. Maybe
It feels incomplete, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, a couple of work-ons for next season. The quality of cricket has been sublime. We can't argue that.
And as a commentary team, both here and in the boxes,
Oh,
we see,
what a shot from Tennis de Bruyne. That is out the top drawer. That is as textbook as it comes. Sorry to interrupt you, but such a shot deserves.
No, De Bruyne, who's struggled a little bit early against Mayers, has now pushed him through the covers for 4, and you have to say maybe he's just got his number. Unfortunately, Mayers just pushed it a little wide, hoping for that in swing, which he didn't quite get there, and just went straight on, and it's mince pie for him right
Yeah,
now.
100%. Just a little bit of width, not down the leg side. That could be a wide.
I wonder, does he experiment maybe with a leg slipish sort of position and keep bowling that line?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, he's beaten Tennis de Bruyne every time. So you look at the average minus, just 3.9 degrees on his first delivery, 3.5 on his second 2. And then one that just sort of stays straight. So he does seem to have a really good control. But interesting to start seeing how, for example, Will Jack seems to be able to pick up the seam quite well.
Oh, and as we say that, I do see there's a short, looks like a short, whitish, fine leg. Yeah, good to see.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose you've got to try and be inventive here. You've got to try and make things happen. Because at the stage, Pretoria Capitals are cruising. They need 56 and 107 balls. And once again, I don't think the audience will see us again. I think we'll pretty much be wrapping up. I think within the 8 overs. So, Kyle Mayers though, and Tennis de Bruyne has flicked it off his pads. Ben Mulder is there. So no run there, bit of after a really good start, a couple of better comeback deliveries, got a lot straighter, which is where he's had success.
And Steve, you're a captain yourself and pretty involved in the club. Tell me, what do you do if you're captaining this Durban side right now?
Personally, I think I'd probably tend to be quite
Fair
aggressive.
miss there from De Bruyne.
You know, I think you got to have certain plans to try and create some wickets. The big thing is you obviously can't give any runs away. So I think, you know, for me, I go a very dominant offside field. For example, if you're gonna sit there saying let's bowl anything, you know, off stump and beyond, you know, have the two you have to have on the leg side, but basically pack everybody else in there. I mean, to not have a slip in place, I think it's a bit strange. You know, why not? At the end of the day, I mean, he's gone across the stumps, and there's nobody back there. And at the end of the day, you know, as a captain, I don't, even if I've set a very offside heavy field, I don't mind that. He's come across, he stepped across the stumps, he's gone over the top. It's a bit of a top edge. That's a high risk shot. Yeah. You know, for me, I'll be sitting there saying, let's make them work hard for these runs. You know, we can't give them easy runs. You can't give them a half volley with, you know, gaps in the covers that he's just minced them through. Let's make them get creative, make them really graft hard for these 80 runs.
Right.
Just sort of guys that down to a
I'm
short.
loving De Bruyne's technique here. Just everything that he's playing seems to just be really solid cricket shots, which you like to see.
Well, the nice thing is we've seen very little risks apart from Phil Salt, who were dirty, and yet they managed to get themselves to 29 for 1. They're basically going at 10 and over without too many high-risk shots.
Yeah. This is the kind of start that you want, though.
100%.
In any chase or any run scoring, you want to be 30 after 3. With a loss of 1, sure, you'll take that. And like you said, not a lot of high risks there. Perhaps one good over, you've got maybe 16 runs on the board. And then the rest of it just falls away. Suddenly you're down to, let's get 6 or 7 and over, and you're flying at 10 and over.
Yeah, and this is why I think, you know, the people that are up there to try and catch 2 million will be a bit disappointed because there's no need to really go hard. You know, they haven't hit, they hit 1-6. Charles Bajun comes into the attack, running aggressive singles now. And a gun arm there from Reece Topley, as you expect him to have.
But even beyond this chase itself, isn't this what you want?
100%.
Right here, this is what you want no matter where you are in any game.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep this up, you're looking at about 60 for 1 after the power play.
Yeah.
Which I think is what every sort of team would like. And the main thing, again, is, you know, get through some of the better bowlers. When it's there to be hit, find a way of scoring some runs. Don't take silly risks if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we're seeing here. I mean, yeah, Jax says there is a slip in place here for Hartfield. Jax is 15 or 6. Get that beautiful pickup off his legs, but he hasn't played any risky shots.
Yeah, not at all. And yeah, I think they've been positive shots, which is maybe the difference between them and Durban's top order is the shots they were playing were, let's be honest, half-assed. And not necessarily high risk, but maybe lacking in confidence.
Yeah, so Hartfield will trundle in for his third delivery. Used to bowl a very quick ball at the slow down in the sort of older years there, but it goes pretty short. And it's a bit of a gimme, isn't it? You know, you've got fine leg up in the circle. I don't know if there's a deep square in there, but to go down leg and go short to that field setting feels like the wrong decision.
Yeah, and it's just taken a little bit of glove there, and it's run away.
Yeah, I mean to have a short fine leg and bowl it short is a strange decision.
And it was certainly intentional as well for Ewan, and yeah, you expect better from an experienced campaigner.
100%. And Troy Campbell's moved to 34 for 1. Fourth ball in the over. Let's see how Hartfield and we'll follow that up. I reckon we'll see this. But no, he does go pretty short and he just guides that down to wide third man.
Also, something we didn't see a lot of from Durban is respecting the good balls and a turnover of strike. When someone's getting into a rhythm, the best thing to do is just make him think about a different batter in front of him. And just, as we see a replay to the very first one-hand catch of the SA20.
Yeah, I think, you know, rotational strike was something that I was harping on about a little bit in the first inning. It's underrated. You know, you just don't want dot balls. because drop balls are criminal. And you've got 120 balls, you want to make sure you get as most maximized delivery. He dug into the pitch there. It's short, but not particularly short, and he's really cramped up Will Jacks.
And this is kind of where I'm a little irritated. I see a ball that looks to have rushed Jacks quite a bit, and absolutely no indication of what kind of speed he's bowling at.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you watch it on TV, it's very hard to differentiate at those speeds between the bowlers.
Yeah, I mean, was that again? Has it hit the pit? Has it hit the deck and done something a bit? Has he just been beaten for pace? I mean, for all we know, it looked like a pretty stock delivery, but it could have been a change of pace there or some sort of variation. But in last ball of the over, and he plugs it down there. We'll run through. I mean, the required run rate sitting below 3, and they're going well above 9. And to guide you through what will probably be the final 60 to 46 runs, you might see us later, you might not. It will be Matt and Steve, and they'll be with you in just a bit.
Welcome back to what's expected to logically be the final commentary session of match 15 of the Betway SA20, where we see the Pretoria Capitals just cruising against a Durban Supergiants side that, let's be quite frank, have been abysmal from word go. I mean, we saw a little bit from Kyle Mayer, but joining me to discuss this is our very own Stephen Kirker. And Stephen, you said, well, when we last spoke, you said bonus point win. I presume you feel the same?
Yes, I did say I suggested this might be over in 8 overs. And my 8 overs is looking pedestrian. It's rather looking as if this may be over sooner than that. Here we've seen Jason Holder push back, excellent shot, straight back down the ground and all the way for 4 runs. And it looks like Pretoria batting on a different pitch.
It does. That's what's interesting. I mean, okay, fine. We've seen a lot of movement, as we know from Kyle Mayers. But I mean, with the amount that we saw on offer from the spin, it's interesting. Do you think there was a shout to try and maybe bring on a Maharaj or somebody with the spin? I mean, we saw so much from Adil Rashid in the first innings. Would you have brought on Jason Holder?
I don't think so. I think, we saw it happen. I mean, I said when Sami came on, I said, it's going to, before he came on, it's going to be interesting to see how he goes, because Rashid had gone so well in the early start of it. And, Sami came on and he ended up with 3 wickets. So the game is moving away from him so quickly here. And
speaking of quickly,
as I say that, another outstanding shot down the ground from Jacks. It's going to be over in next to no time. So yes, I think it's inevitable that it would have been better to bring on a spinner, because none of the pacemen have done well here. And by the time you bring on a spinner, it could be at the end of this over.
Yeah,
there's not going to be a lot left to get.
No, I mean, as things stand, 44 for 1. Looks like they're gonna run the 2. It looks like, or no, they're not. They're just gonna play it safe. Are they? No, they're running the 2. So I mean that pushes it up to 46 for 1. As things stand, there's still another ball to come in the over. They need 35 off 91. I mean, it is over. So if you're the Durban Supergiants now, they're obviously left with a lot to think about. Where do you think they went wrong? Was it just simply bad batting? Was it a case of maybe the batting philosophy? What went wrong for them?
I guess you could potentially talk to both the philosophy and bad batting, but I think ultimately it was just bad batting. Maybe they misjudged the pitch completely. And it's, we always say is that, wait until you've seen both teams bat on the pitch to actually, before you decide whether the team batting first is batted poorly. The answer's here already. We know Durban batted poorly. Only one batsman really looked in control. That was Heinrich Klaassen. There were a couple of the batters who came in a little later down the order who stuck around, but you don't want batters to stick around in a T20 game. We did say that. And the way De Bruyne is playing some really, really great cricketing shots. I mean, if I think about his background, the way he has managed to adapt to the T20 game is refreshing, because he's a very technically correct cricketer. And, I'm kind of sad in a way that his, in terms of the South African Test side, he hasn't had as much time as perhaps he could or should. But then has he done himself the favours when he's had the chances? Perhaps not as much. But here he is, showing what a good batter he is.
Yeah, well, speaking of a good batter, Will Jacks is not doing his stock any harm whatsoever. What's that? First ball of the innings from Hardus Viljoen, and Jacks just kind of rocks a little bit to the side. Just manages to, it's not a scoop. It's just he just simply guided that one 75 meters for 6. Yeah, I agree with you. I must say, I agree with you when you say bad batting. I think bad batting really has been the start and the end of it for Durban Super Giants. It wasn't a philosophy thing, at least as far as I'm concerned. As we see another boundary, it looks like, yep, in fact, that one's just going to run away very simply. Just a back foot punch there, which means 10 off the last 2 balls. 57 for 1. Oof, I don't think we're going to see the next 3, or certainly probably not the next 3 overs or so. Okay, so where to for Durban Super Giants?
I would suggest that they ask the ground staff to leave the wickets up, leave the lights on, and come back and play a practice game. Well, the crowd's gone home.
God knows they got time, don't they? They can be home in
time.
Yeah,
well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, especially after a shocker like this. It's a shocker. But then again, you do get a quick turnaround time, another boundary from Jacks. The way he's seeing the ball at the moment, I mean, he's literally picking off Hardus Viljoen like he's bowling military medium.
Yeah, no, you're entirely right. Yeah, it is. He's looking, he's seeing it so clearly and so wonderfully. But again, we come back to this thing of this. It's almost an insult. It's on Durban's own pitch that we're seeing this kind of nonsense happen from the Pretoria batters, who, by all rights, should be facing the same kind of tricky stuff that they were dealing. Oh, here we go.
Oh my word! There's another monster. Oh no, it wasn't a monster.
Well, I mean, it just plugged in there. I mean, if they had that bounce nicely, I suppose you would have said that would have gone for 4. But yeah, no, look, it's been men against boys.
Maybe that he got a bit more bounce than he was expecting. He didn't time that properly at all. The bat twisted in his hand. Anyway, on another day, I suppose, if things were going Durban's way, there would have been a top edge and it would have been taken there. So, anyway.
Yeah, well, there we go. We see a monumental 6 going into about the 12th, 15th row. This has not quite been the over you'd like from Hardus Viljoen, has it? What's that? 1, 2 6s, 2 4s, and a 2. I mean, it looks like these guys want to go to the pub, don't they?
Well, I can't blame them. It's Durban on a Friday night, and they're down from Pretoria. What does one do when one's down from Pretoria on a Friday night in Durban?
I don't know. Do they speak Afrikaans in Durban?
Well, if you look for the right places, I've never personally looked for those places.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's clearly curtains here, and it looks like they're. I mean, obviously, we know they're clearly going to get the bonus point very, very comfortably here. What do you think? Do you think this is just Will Jacks kind of trying to cement as much place as he can in the England setup? Do you think he's got half a mind on that?
No, honest, I don't think so. I think there is something just quite ridiculously refreshing about the way some of these cricketers are playing the game now. And England certainly are the bench setters in terms of their T20 game. We've seen what they've been consistently good in T20s, and they, amazingly enough, taken some of that attitude into the test game, test arena, and been successful with it. So my feeling is there has to be some sort of way the rest of us, play the game, because otherwise we're going to be left behind. I mean, the way England's playing the game, and they don't mind losing a game because they lose so many.
Yeah, and they do, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when you're looking at Will Jacks now, I mean, for God's sake, the man needed 81 from 20 overs, and he's going along. He's got 49 now, not out of 20, as we see Keshav Maharaj finally coming in to try and offer something different. Do you think that this is just an extension of England's play at the moment?
Well, I would think so. I mean, there's a lot of these players. I mean, Keshav Maharaj has done really well there. I was going to suggest that, Jacks, if he gets a sight on Maharaj, we could see this match over and it's over. And we still could.
Yeah, we still can.
But Maharaj bowled a very good delivery to him.
Yeah, getting a bit of turn there, I see, on offer, which is interesting. I mean, Maharaj isn't really the world's biggest turner of the ball, but he was getting a decent amount there, as we see Will Jacks being celebrated for his 22nd 50. But again, I mean, just to go back to that, Will Jacks did not need to go along at this. Hell, he could have gone along at a strike rate of 100, yet his strike rate, as things stand, are 227.3. 5 4s and 3 6s from that half century for him. I mean, it does, in a way, it almost feels to me like this is just the English philosophy, this aggression at the moment.
Well, the so-called baseball, but I mean, I'll bring you back to my point about the way England has been the top force in T20 cricket on the international arena. And let's not forget, in terms of pioneering the shorter forms of the game, they've got the 100 there. They've been playing this kind of cricket for a long time. That one's gone miles. Is that taken in the crowd?
I don't know. He doesn't look too excited.
No.
But look, it is a
he
six.
Can probably he can blame it on the humidity. Slippery.
Yeah, very slippery. Clearly, I mean, you can see we can see that must have been the issue for the batters as well. They must have been struggling with a slippery ball in the first one. Oh, and we see, no, it's taken by the man behind on the second attempt. So, no doubting there, you're not going to get any share of your million from that. Yeah,
3 runs required.
Yeah, 3 runs required, as we say. There's 1 ball left in the over. 6.5 overs gone, 78 for 1. I mean, I called it beforehand. I said we're probably looking at a. Oh, never mind. Never mind. There it is. No,
I said 8 overs.
We say it's over. It absolutely bloody isn't. What do we know, hey? Caught in the deep in cow corner there. Maharaj gets the second wicket of the match. Will Jacks goes for 56 off 20.
The big wicket.
The big wicket. That's it. Game on. Guaranteed game on. Here we are. The comeback is on. No, not really. It definitely isn't. But it's worth a shout. I still have to find myself asking what does Durban really do now? Do they go, okay, fine, we need to readjust, we need to look at our batting, do we need to look at the pitch? If you're in charge of the Super Giants right now, say you're coaching, what do you say to the players afterwards, because all you say to them is, play better, you pricks, but I mean, you have to have some kind of a game plan, surely, yeah?
Well, of course you have to have a game plan. I mean, in terms of I can't really comment, as a player or a coach, but I mean, ultimately, in any of these situations when your team is down, you as the manager needs to come up with the right kind of message to them, which is, motivational enough to keep them at least, focused and believing that they can play the game. And of course, none of these players can't play the game. They've all been chosen for these teams because they can play the game. So, I mean, I genuinely think we are seeing, the best South African players here. and some of the best T20 international specialists from around the world. There are others busy elsewhere, but you can't say okay, well, we've lost this game so much, let's just all go home and be grumpy, and come back for training tomorrow. I don't know. The best coaches in the world, what is their secret? Every single coach has, times when their teams go on a bad run. It's how you manage those bad runs.
Yeah.
Lance Klusener, he's been in the coaching setup with some teams, some like mediocre teams. If we think of the work he's done with Zimbabwe, think of the work he's done on the subcontinent, he's got some really interesting experience. He's also got some, biggish experience, but in terms of actually managing a franchise of this nature, is he a little bit inexperienced? Maybe you could say that.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, there's certainly something to be said for that, I think. I think you've got a very good point in that on the biggest stage. And I mean, I think, based on what we've seen from this tournament, we have to say that this is arguably one of the bigger stages. Maybe there is that little bit of inexperience from Klusener. But hang on, let's just watch this last ball now, needing 1 run to win. And we see that one just pushed away to point for a dot ball. 7.3 overs gone. Currently the scores are tied at, yes, I can't believe we're saying this, 80 runs. The scores are tied. Pretoria Capitals needing 1 from 75 deliveries. My God. As we see Sobrian at the coming to the crease, he's halfway through his over. Let's have a look now. Do they push this one away? Well, there we are. That one is pushed through backwards, square leg. Very, very comfortable win. 84 for 2 is how it ends. Doesn't matter because all they needed was 81. Pretoria Capitals taking a convincing 8-wicket win. Now, Steve, does that make them the favourites?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, things can change, but I mean, they were way out ahead. If you look at the balance of their team, you look at this guy, Tinus de Bruin, to have this guy in your setup, and depending on the way a game is going, I mean, just spoken of the fact he's such a good cricketer. You've got immense hitters. I mean, Jax is an immense hitter. Look at that bowling attack that the Capitals have.
Yeah.
With the wily and experienced spinners, the might of Heinrich Nokia, and in form. Form is very important. So, it's going to take a lot from any of the other teams. Let's actually pull up the stats. I've got the table here somewhere. Yeah, the table here. So this is going to take Capitals up to 18 points because they pick up the bonus point here. So they're 6 points clear of anyone else and everyone has played 5 games now. So bear in mind that it's going to take a bonus point victory by the Sunrisers to draw level with them. Yeah. Everyone else is Mumbai Indians, Cape Town. There are 9 points. Pal Royals also on 9 points. Durban Super Giants and fellow wooden spoonists in waiting, perhaps Joburg Super Kings on 8. But having said that, look at that. Cape Town on 9, Royals on 9, Durban Super Giants on 8, and Joburg Super Kings on 8 as well. There's a lot to play for there. Sunrisers Eastern Cape, that little bit ahead of everyone else, the other chasers with the 3 victories. Pretoria Capitals now have got the 4 victories, but, they've got those bonus points. So, on paper, it's still fairly close, but based on the way the teams are playing, I would suggest that the Pretoria Capitals and the Sunrisers, we can expect them to continue this. So I guess it's up to the rest of the crew to actually, catch up with them.
Yeah, no, I agree fully with you. Just the last question from me. Let's, as you said, looking at the wooden spoons potentially, is this it for the Durban Super Giants? I mean, we know it's still relatively early days, relatively speaking, at least in the tournament. Do you think there's a way back for them from here, based on what we've seen tonight? Do you think they have it in the tank?
Well, based on what we've seen tonight, you'd have to say that no. But we all know that things can change quite quickly. Have they got the talent? Yes. Are they as talented man for man or as a squad compared to the Pretoria Capitals? as we discussed earlier, perhaps in terms of the strength of their bowling attack, not as much. So, maybe if one looks to the selection, and actually, I'm going to pull this out next time I'm on air. There's somebody I follow on Twitter. She did a statistical analysis of the squads based on their experience, their averages, their strike rates, this kind of thing, and put those into a statistical analysis. And stats are only you get
They'll
lies,
take you
damn
so
lies, and
far, yeah.
statistics. But but in cricket, the stats actually aren't lies. Let's talk about it. So I think on paper, Pretoria Capitals looking really, really, really good.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think they've certainly emerged tonight as the favorites, and I agree with you. It does kind of, it stems from that ability both with the bat and with the ball. When you've got a Will Jacks on one hand, and you've also got an Heinrich Nortje on the other. I think it's just there's match winners both with the bat in hand and with the ball in hand, which for me at least, and I think you'd probably agree. It kind of puts them head and shoulders above a lot of the other teams. But nonetheless, it is what it is, I suppose, if you're a Durban Supergiants fan tonight. If you're a Pretoria Capitals fan, well, you've got plenty of brandy to drink and plenty to celebrate because you have moved very comfortably clear ahead of the chasing pack thus far after 15 matches played in the Betway SA20 so far. Stephen, I appreciate your time, your short, brief time that we spent together due to some abysmal batting performances, but nonetheless, I expect we'll see you soon.
Yes, I'll just leave you with this one stat. The Joburg Super Kings have scored 666 runs so far, and they're bottom of the pile. Think of that, 666. Sorry, I'll leave it at that.
Well, there we go. Yeah, the devil is in the details. Right. Thank you so much, Steve. We will undoubtedly see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you may be across the world, we will certainly be covering the next match as soon as we possibly can here on Forever Sports.